Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at the 1997 Finest football set. I was surprised when I discovered that this is actually a single video, because I just assumed it would go with 1998, until I came to realize that it's actually this is a set that has no inserts, no promos, just some parallels. But at the end of the day, there's actually a lot to talk about with it, so as you can already see, it's a long enough video all on its own, and that really did surprise me. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised to find how fun this was going to be to really parse through and put together all the pieces of it. It's surprisingly complex. And really, the reason that the 1997 set is the way that it is they were trying to fix the problem of 1996. So the 96 set was a case where the first couple of sets by Finest were pretty straightforward. Maybe some subset cards, but pretty clean and straightforward. And yet, by 1995, Topps was finding itself having competition at that upper tier, and they needed to do something to make Finest itself more distinct and really stand out amongst a crowd that was getting crowded by none other than Topps' own Bowman's Best. And so what they came up with, the idea they came up with for the 1996 set was to make a set with a whole bunch of different themes, which really does cater well to the whole model of, or the whole potential of the Finest technology. Great idea. But they also wanted to bring something that was happening that had happened in Bowman in 1992, where at 92 and 93 they had SP cards interlaced throughout the set. So in order to complete the set, you had to get these particular cards to fully fill it out, and it was kind of fun with the Bowman sets. So Finest was built in 1996 to do that. The problem was there was a 3-tier set, and because all the cards were intermixed, that meant that if you could only put together the bronze set, you had a whole bunch of holes in your set, and it just didn't work. So they needed to change it, and part of the reason they needed to change it was they were not the only card company to do a 3-tier set in 1996. Playoff did the same thing, but they built their set so it was 100 cards at the base level, bronze, another 50 cards for silver, and another 50 cards for gold, which meant that as a collector, you could sit down and you could build a 50-card set or a 100-card set, and then once you were done with that, you could maybe expand it out another 50 cards, and maybe beyond that. Everything made sense, and so everybody was a participant in it. Upper Deck did the same thing with Black Diamond when they launched that in 1996. So Finest really did need to get cleaned up, and so for the 1997 set, they did a much better job with card designs. They cleaned up the themes, but the big thing was they reordered the set so that the first 100 cards were bronze, the second 50 cards were silver, and then the 25 cards after that were gold. And then they did a second series which repeated the exact same thing. So the set was really clean, and finally it made sense, and it could be collected progressively. Before I get into the cards, though, I do want to mention very quickly about the box, which was kind of unusual because Finest had been using a card right on the front from the beginning. It's not exactly an upgrade over the 1992 playoff boxes, which are just incredible, but they had their own interesting quality, or fun quality and collectability, having a card on the front. But in 1997, they did a weird trapezoidal box, which allowed for the packs to sit in a box on a counter, tilted like a presentation, that I'm pretty sure caused me to buy one or two of these packs due to how they looked. I opened a lot of these packs. I don't remember how many were off of counters, but the box was designed in a very unique way to do that. All right. So enough of all the setup. Let's get into talking about the cards. So for 1997, the cards were designed to really capture the potential of the Tech Chrome technology of these cards. I consider this to be the first fully successful Finest card. Well, the second one, the test set, was the first one. These cards are fantastic because they do all the things that the technology should be able to provide you to do. First off, as you can see, the card is almost completely covered over the background with a theme, and the background is visible on all these cards. It's just kind of difficult. There is a very strong text theme up at the top that gives the whole theme for this not section of the set, but the cards related to this. It gives them their distinct quality. And then across the background, they also have little features that are etched into the card, where for the Masters cards here, it's a bunch of diamonds that's like diamond print metal plates. So these cards all have a really clear theme throughout that reads really well. Even though the cards within each bracket, 150 or 25, these cards are all spread out, but they all do have their own distinct look. And on the back, you'll notice that most of the card back is dedicated to a photo. Now, the card backs are different between all the different themes, but the box down at the bottom for the card number is basically ripped right off the 1996 card. There's a set number, there is a theme number, and there is another box that is vertical that says either common for the bronze cards, uncommon for the silver cards, rare for the gold cards. And there's at least one case where there is a bronze card that does say uncommon, but rest assured, it is a common card. It's just an error on that card. But the theme number is intended so that if you just want to collect all the cards from a theme and lay them out, if you are, I don't know, maybe obsessive compulsive, then you could do that. You could actually figure out how many cards were necessary to complete the set, which is, it's an idea. But at any rate, that was the design for the Masters cards. The other four themes in the Series 1 array of themes so the other four are all designed around different positions, the four main position groups, which is weird to say, but that's the way they did it. The first of those position groups is quarterbacks, which they refer to as field generals. Here you have a plaque up at the top with the text, which allows for that to have a very clean and good, strong theme look to it. And then instead of diamonds, they have stars that are speckled around, carrying along the general's theme. For running backs, they went with bulldozers. And this is the card that is the most clean and professional of all of these. The radial fan of those, what almost look like wall boards, is a really great rhythm, really great pattern that reads well on all these cards and makes this one section of the set look truly professional and well thought out. Very much the opposite of the dynamos, which is the wide receivers, where this card has a big swirl pattern around the receivers, and even the text up at the top is kind of wavy. So it's really kind of a free-form card, which is, okay, that certainly makes sense for the position. And then you got Hitmen. And Hitmen is, it's like the old Score Crunch Crew cards. Just a blast of power with all of those fans of background patterning to it that is very clean, very nice looking, and very much, it looks like a defensive player. So those five themes are the themes that you see in Series 1. And like I said, they're spread out. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at the bronze cards or the gold cards. Even with the gold cards, these are all intermixed. There's no team order, there's no alphabetical order, there's no theme order. They're just jumbled together, but at least each one of the different sections is grouped together. Now, as I've alluded to, the themes do carry across all three of the sections. So that means that every single theme, there is a bronze version, there's a silver version, and there's a gold version. And I'll show you kind of how you can tell the difference of them. I'm going to be moving in reverse. So for the Hitman cards, the bronze and the silver are very clear, mainly with the text up at the top of the card. The gold one is a little bit harder to tell, but look, if you want to know from the front which one of the three themes you're looking at, look at the Topps logo down at the bottom. That is actually the easier way to tell the difference between them from the front. The better way is to look on the back and see if it says common, uncommon, or rare. That really gives it away, or the card number. But on the front, the Hitman isn't quite as clear when you get to the gold. Whereas when you go to the Dynamos, this is a lot stronger. And in the case of the Dynamos, the background kind of gives it away, but really at the end of the day, the gold background isn't quite as strong at giving away the card as, well, really the key is to look at the player name down at the bottom. That is the big giveaway on these cards. Why they didn't change the Dynamo's text, I really don't have any idea, because when you go over to Bulldozers, that's the big giveaway. And here it's so clear. The text comes across so well between the three different series of the set, that, or the three different colors, that it's really obvious where it shows up in the set. And Field Generals is, well, frankly, even more impressive, because here again the text doesn't change, but the background is a lot easier to read on these cards, as you can very clearly see. But if you really want to see one that's obvious, Masters is the one that is the most obvious. Even though the gold is a little bit understated, still the way that it reads is very clear. So for these cards, it's fun to look at how they did the designs across all of the different series of the set. And they only had 99 players in the first series because card number 100 is a checklist. And as you can see, it's both the main checklist, or it's both the main card as well as there's a refractor version of it. Series 2 does the exact same thing. It is card number 275. It closes out the first 100 cards of Series 2. And speaking of Series 2, Series 2 has almost completely different themes. Again, 5 themes, but Masters is shared between the Series 1 release and the Series 2 release. In fact, one thing I didn't mention to you is that when you saw the 3 different versions of Masters cards, that middle one, the one of Curtis Martin, is actually a Series 2 card. It's not a Series 1 card, but they're done exactly the same way. So the other 4 themes are unique to Series 2, and the first of those is Champions. The Champions cards have a great theme to them. You can see that the background is a lot stronger on the Series 2 cards. But the theme of Champions, we'll be seeing how this affects the card, but there's an aspect to how these cards are designed that's a lot more well thought out than in Series 1. Even though Series 1 has much stronger themes, in Series 2, they put more care into all these cards. Dominators is one where there is actually a lot of intricacy that you can't even see. There is a steel plate theme to these cards, and there are actually rivets that are very difficult to read on these particular cards, especially considering the fact that I'm using the cards that still have the protectors on them to show you. And that's actually something that for both 1997 and 1998 is a good thing for me to do, because it will help us down the road, more so in 1998, but in 1997 it'll still help you to keep kind of track of where we are. But at any rate, Dominators is the second unique theme. Stalwarts is the third. Now, with Stalwarts, there's a football. It's difficult to read it, but the pattern behind the player is actually a football. And that whole pattern in it for the leather surface of the football is a nod to the very first test set that they did, where the cover card of the 1992 set had a football pattern very similar to the ones here on this card. And so, to me, it really is kind of a nod. It's kind of cool, but difficult to read. But Impact is the last of these 4 unique themes. And this is a set dedicated to rookie cards. This has a really cool effect at the top that I think is gorgeous. And then kind of interesting how it just kind of opens up to this umbrellaed space that is completely open to the background behind the player on the card. So those are the 9 different themes across both of the series, Series 1 and Series 2. And again, all 5 themes show up in each one of the 3 sections of each set. And to show you, to be fair to Series 2, I'll show you how the look of each of these cards is across the different sections. So Masters, we've already looked at that. So with Champions shows that there's a lot more clarity to how these cards read in terms of the 3 different sections of the cards. The gold is a lot more clear. Silver obviously is a lot more clear, as is the case for Dominators. Now, Dominators isn't quite as clear with the gold version of the cards. It's still pretty clear, but these cards can be a little bit more challenging to read when you're looking. I mean, obviously, if somebody has a gold card, they're telling you that it's a gold card, and you can probably believe them. So, for what it's worth. The Stalwarts cards are a little bit more clear, but I do have to apologize that I'm not showing you a gold version of it, because I think there's only one Stalwarts gold card. There might be two. I do not have it or them in my set. I have a Refractor, but for reasons that I am not going to get into here, I wasn't able to use that. So I can't show you the gold, but suffice to say, the gold is a very, very bold card. Impact. Well, Impact is also a card that is very, very clear to read. So this stands alongside Champions and Masters as a very distinct card across the three different sections. And that is a look at the base level cards for this entire set. Now, they do come with a Refractor parallel, as you already saw from the checklist, and the Refractors are exactly the same between the bronze, the silver, and the gold. You know, the Series 1 cards have their look, which is designed more to make the Refractors read well, whereas when you go over to Series 2, the Refractor kind of gets lost a little bit in the intricacy of the card design, which is perfectly fine, but you don't get the feeling that they designed the cards of Series 2 around the Refractors, whereas with Series 1, that certainly does seem to be the case. And an interesting thing about the Refractor cards is that on the back, the cards have a refractor surface there as well. So it's interesting how they ended up doing that with the front and the back. But that's not the only parallel for this set. They actually did something else that would become more prominent in 1998, where they did no protector cards. Now this is only for the silver and the gold cards. So the uncommon and the rare cards are the only ones that have the no protector cards, but you're probably going to hear about you're probably going to see these referenced as embossed, because they are all embossed. Now, instead of embossing everything on the card, they only gave relief to the player. But he is fully rounded on the front, and then on the back it's concave and has nothing to do with the card back. So all 75 cards in Series 1 and all 75 cards in Series 2 can be found both with the traditional card as well as the more brittle version here with the embossed surface on it, which again has no protector on it, which is the reason why I left all the protectors on the main cards just to make sure that everything's clear. But you're probably noticing something about the gold card, which is that it's actually die cut. It is in fact die cut, curved at the top, curved at the bottom, and that is common for all of the gold cards in both Series 1 as well as in Series 2. But the pattern is different for each of the different themes. So for Masters, as you can see, it's curved at the top and then the same curve is down at the bottom, whereas for Field Generals, they have it flipped. So it's almost like the card is rounded, and it means that there's no part of the card that can really sit upright. I mean, the sides can sit upright, but that's sideways, obviously. So that is the theme for the Field Generals. When you go over to the Bulldozer cards, this has a whole wavy line pattern on either side of the card, which is very distinct in this card set. It is, because mostly it's the top and the bottom where design themes are going on, but here having that pattern is really interesting and almost makes it look like the card's damaged in a way. But then Dynamos, well, here we're definitely getting into a case where they took the whole idea of the theme of the card design and reflected it, where two of the borders are kind of wavy, but that actually goes with the text at the top of the card, which also has a wavy pattern to it. But Hitmen, well, Hitmen also carries along with the theme, where in this case they just have little notches around the sides of the card that fit in with the design theme for each one of these cards. And so that means that for all of the 25 cards, they have one of these different patterns based upon whatever theme is involved with it. But these are basic. Series 2 gets a lot more complex. I mean, Masters is done the same way, so we don't need to look at that. But Champions, well, now Champions, you can see that this is where they carried the idea of the theme and created something that had nothing to do with the main card design, where they have now created almost like a medal up at the top of the card, and it doesn't relate to the design theme except it reflects it. It is the same spirit to the cards. That's not quite the same thing, though, when you go over to Dominators, because with Dominators, that whole metal plate theme is carried to a higher level, where now the notches make it look like there are literally plates that are welded or riveted together to make the entire card. But then you get stalwarts, and with stalwarts, this is where they actually did take the pattern of the card and use that for the die cutting, because now you can very clearly see the football on this card. And so it all comes full circle and makes this card a very, this is the one card that looks like they designed it in the other direction, where they designed this, and then they designed the normal card to be an extension of it. But then you have Impact, and Impact is, well, frankly, Impact is very similar to the Hitmen that we saw in the previous series. I mean, very similar, although this is a little bit more of an energetic design. But these cards do also come with a parallel. And so all of the cards in both the silver and the gold, they have an atomic refractor for the refractor parallel of these cards. But they have different ones because they have kind of rotating diamonds for the silver, whereas they have the more traditional atomic grid pattern for the gold cards. But I got to note something about this, which is that when I talked about the gold cards in the regular level being exactly the same as the other refractors, that's an important thing to note, because you can find these cards with the normal base level cards, the flat cards. You can find them with both a refractor with a protector on them, as well as an atomic refractor with no protector on them. In fact, it can arguably be more common to find those than the actual ones out of packs. And that's to the distinction, which is that in packs, the gold cards, the regular gold cards, the refractor is supposed to have just a normal refractor surface, and only the embossed no protector cards are supposed to have the atomic refractor. Now, it's not entirely understood how these cards why these cards were manufactured or how it was approached, but it is believed that they were made and then somehow were spirited away out of the warehouse. How they made it out of the market, I have not heard how that happened, but at any rate, out in the market now, it's really easy to find the normal flat cards with the atomic pattern on it. So exactly what the intent of that was, who knows, but those are not impact cards, those are special release cards, to the best of my knowledge. And that finally brings it to a close. So I'm sorry that there is all this intricate stuff that I wanted to get into, but I wanted to really break down all the little pieces of the set so that you knew them, so that you understood them. And I hope this wasn't just kind of like killing time. But at any rate, that gives you what I believe is all the information that you need to know about the set. If you have any questions, please ask me by all means. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And thank you very much for watching.